Hey, I'm back. So this is a really good, interesting X space, one that I'm not going to be hosting or co-hosting. I am going to join the Emeldi group. They are hosting an X space on the impact of RWA or real world asset tokens on Web3, and I'm going to be speaking from the Over the Reality X account. So they just started and let's go. The reason why I'm doing these behind the scenes live stream, it's also, like for those of you that end up seeing this and the title, especially for family and friends and my network on Facebook, it'll give you a little bit of insight on like what I do and some of these topics that you may or may not heard of. You'll really get some great insights and you'll learn too about what's happening in the Web3 space. And basically, it will touch upon in the future, you will be dealing with like these types of smart contracts and everything on the blockchain. So let me just join. Okay, they're just starting. We share each other, nearer than father. The scent of a lemon. Okay, I'm also gonna log in as Digital Femme. I can't do well, and I think you're gonna leave me, but I know I try. Okay, let me see. Where am I? Are you gonna leave me now? Emoji group. Can't you be believing now? Here it is. And I think you're gonna leave me, but I know I try. If I log in, I wonder if it'll show up. Okay. Yep, I'm there.
Well, it looks like we've got quite a few people coming in already. Still waiting on my co-hosts here. Yeah, if you're on the speaker list, go ahead and request the mic and come on up. We'll get you on up here. And what we'll do is once we get everything set up and ready to go, we'll just do a couple quick intros and then we'll get into the conversation. Did
I'm going to share the screen actually.
If everybody can go ahead and like and retweet the space, that would be awesome. And that way we can get everything set up and ready to go here. I'm still waiting on my co-hosts here. So everybody can go ahead. It's definitely great to have you all here. That would be awesome. This is what our third space that we're hosting. And it's super exciting, super awesome. Definitely a lot of fun. And look forward to continually doing these spaces. This is what our third space. And looks like I've got one of my co-hosts here. And it's super exciting, super awesome. Definitely a lot of fun. And look forward to continuing.
Okay, this is another behind the scenes X space, except this time I'm joining the Emeldi group X space, and they're going to, the topic for the X space is the impact of real world asset tokens on Web3. And if you are watching this on Facebook, you may want to just keep watching so you will learn about what's going on in the
connection issues over
blockchain
here.
Space.
You're missing the opportunity to say that EMG fixes this.
Oh, it does actually. What's funny is I did set up a video space for this Sunday. So if you guys want to join in, it would be definitely awesome and for you guys to join us as well. But it'll be this Sunday at this time, exactly at this time, inside the EMG app as well. And it's going to be our first community space. So it's super exciting for join us as well, but it'll be what the app actually has to offer. And inside the EMG app as well. Let's see, I might have to. And it's going to be our first community space. So it's super exciting for.
See, that was me smashing in the co-host position.
I know, you know, like I.
Let's see.
Yeah, we're rugging Corgi.
So inside the EMG app, that's what I heard. It's Mark Bistransky here. Nice to join.
That was me smashing in the co-host position.
Yeah.
I know, you know, like
I'm invited to co-host. Accept. All right.
Yeah,
So
we're
why is it rugging still? Why is it not? You know, I gave the excuse last time that the monolithic system that was built. You know, it was what I heard horror stories of how Twitter was being developed. And I could imagine coming in there trying to make some optimizations and all that. But these spaces were like after the fact. No, this is a recent piece of the software. Or maybe I'm wrong. What I'm trying to say is that why is it not working? These spaces were like after,
you know, there's a lot of stuff that kind of is going on it. So who knows?
Yeah.
But
or maybe Darren knows. Darren's the wise one. He knows everything that's going on. And whenever I need a question, I
suggested just to switch over to EMG.
Going on it.
There you go. That's a plug for today. We don't have to say anything more. We do have actually video spaces already working. We don't rug people, and we don't record people either. Well, actually, that's maybe people like to have a recording because then people can do. Actually, people actually play back the ones. I don't know. Maybe anyway. So we've got a lot of features, and we're happy to be hosting the third. Is this the third one, Ryder?
This is the third one. Yeah, I was just saying that this is our
third anniversary.
Yeah, so it's super exciting to be hosting this, and we're planning on continuing hosting these consistently every Thursday, right around this time. You know, we may change it to a little bit of an earlier time. Who knows? Just we'll see how things kind of go. But no, these are definitely really fun to do, and just to hear everybody, all the different companies and projects themselves coming in here and listening to them and getting their perspective. And it's definitely fun and amazing. So we're super excited. And we'll just go ahead. It looks like we've got a few people in here. If you, don't forget, guys, go ahead and retweet the space.
Definitely fun and amazing. So we're super excited.
And looks like we've got 27 retweets. Those are rookie numbers. We need to pump those up, guys. Anyways, we'll go ahead and we'll jump into a couple quick intros here, and we'll get started with the conversation. The topic is going to be the impact of RWA tokens on Web. This is kind of something that we hold dear to us here at EMG. And for those of you who don't know who the EMG is, we're the Emeldi group, and we're the super app combining telco and finance, and we're going to be banking the unbanking. Banking the unbanked, right?
Banking the unbanked, connecting the unconnected. Yeah. I was on a Mario Nafal show a while ago, and I said that in a way like that's such a cliche that everybody is using it, and we're kind of trying to, actually fulfill it and have an application, have a platform that could be used now and fulfill those, those gaps, and I was attacked that I'm saying it's such a cliche, but I meant it in a different way. So it is used a lot, and I'm I guess junior in the space, only 3.5 years in Web3, but in the technologies, and software for the enterprise grade for institutions like the telcos, it's over 20 years. So kind of we're looking to bring that into Web3, maybe stop calling it Web2, Web3, and call it something else for a change, like Web 3.5. I don't know what it's going to be, but just getting adoption. I think that's what it's about, and bringing products and platforms, bringing projects like us that are coming to build and actually make a change in the sector where we're at, in the telecoms, and I'm hoping that this will be the next wave of more of projects, products that are going to entering the market, not from corporations, but from genuine, from companies like us, and looking forward to working with a lot of these projects. And the topic is RWA, so let's jump in there and maybe who's the next, who's in here to introduce themselves, Ryder? You can.
Yeah, so I guess I'll just go here. And next us is Corgi on. Are you over there?
The topic is RWA, so let's jump in.
Yes, I'm here.
Can you go ahead and introduce Corgi?
Introduce themselves.
Yeah, good morning, everybody.
Yeah, so
This is Corgi Studios, NFT Marketplace, Launchpad, and Staking Services. We've been around for over 2 years, and we just recently expand to Polygon, and Fi is a really interesting place to grow.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for that, Corgi. And I've got over here, that's Darren behind the Quick Swap. Or Darren, can you go ahead and introduce yourself for us?
To grow. Yeah, Darren here.
Thank you very
BD
much
contributor to QuickSwap.
And I've got over here, that's
that
Darren
mostly
behind the
entails
Quick
we
Swap.
just pretended to be a
Or
panda
Darren,
on
can you go
Telegram
ahead
and join the
introduce
Twitch
yourself
alongside weekly meetings with Ryder. I actually didn't book one in this week. I think he's fallen out with me, but we'll find out. I'm sure we'll find out today.
Mostly entails
Oh no, I've got a meeting with you very soon, so I'll be sure to book that. Last minute.
Yeah, make sure everybody comes to the space that's tomorrow. The All Roads Lead to Polygon. That's the regular Quick Swap space, or it's on. So you can find that, and I just wanted to plug that.
We announced that one late this week.
That's
I'm not sure Polygon announced what they were going to announce so that we could talk about that. I don't think they have.
No, he hasn't done it yet.
Just wanted to plug that.
But no, yeah, I mean, the spaces tomorrow is going to be a pretty big one. We've got some big names.
What they were going to announce.
Yeah, that's super exciting. Definitely love to see what QuickSwap and who they bring in. I'm going to go ahead and move it on over to Sheertopia over here. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm Funshow, and I'm the CEO and founder over at Sheertopia. It's fantastic to be here. A lot of familiar faces. My good friend Darren over at QuickSwap, feels like we hang out most days now, and it's great to see all of the great speakers that are up here as well. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I think it's a very important one for a number of different reasons, and very excited to tell you guys a little bit more about what we're doing as well and how we're working with EMG on their super app, which is fantastic, by the way. I was having a good look around it today.
Nice, love it. So you're going to be hopefully integrated soon with your game and your platform. It's I think what you guys have built and launched, it's really exciting.
I always get nervous.
We've had these conversations for a few weeks now, and I think see lots of synergy, and it's exactly the kind of fit that we're looking for partners and that are building and looking to bring in the Web2 and Web3 together, and having something that could be part of the ecosystem. So it's fit that we're looking for partners and that are building and looking to bring in.
Moving on over to Mineable.
The Web2 and Web3 together, and having something that
I can't hear you very well. You might have your thumb on either the speaker, or you may have to talk into it a little bit better.
Yeah, his voice too low.
Yeah, I can't hear you very well. You might have
I'm having a coughing attack.
Either the speaker, or you may have to
maybe come like 10 feet closer to the mic.
Yeah, his voice too low.
Yeah, I can't hear you. Mineable, you're gonna have to fix that speaker. We cannot hear you.
I will jump out and back in again. Hopefully I'll fix it for you.
Yeah. What I'll do is I'm just gonna move on over to D-Store. I think that's Dustin behind there. I hear you.
Let's go, baby. Just maybe they can go on mobile. I heard a Windows sound, so maybe they should just jump on mobile.
I'm just gonna move on over to D-Store. I think that's Dustin.
Anyways, D-Store. Let's go, baby. Just maybe Dustin. So I wrap on these spaces. Appreciate you guys. Microsoft, EMG, what's good? I've been having last 48 hours. I've been having a live stream. So check out my little radio station I got going on. So it's pretty cool.
Appreciate you guys. Yeah, I saw that. What's that about? Tell us a bit more about it. What's that about? The radio station. 8 hours. So I've been starting out with this D Store radio. So basically, I'm trying to do is see how long I can run it.
Yeah, man.
Nothing.
What's that about?
Nothing complete. I really want to see the over 24 hours. I got the 19 yesterday. Starting out. I mean, that was pretty good. But so basically, I'm trying to do is you play some songs on there. What do you do? What do you do? Nothing complete. Okay, so I guess I can just give a little rundown. So basically, I just play music in general. Like I DJ. I know my whole city DJs. Like everybody in my city are three things: DJs, promoters, and visual artists. So everybody's like something. Okay, so I guess I could. And so I would like to put a podium for all these people. Plus, all my other international friends are DJs too. So I feel like it's a good place to start. Or three things: DJs, promoters. That's cool, man. That's awesome. Everybody's like,
yeah, man. I remember I tuned in at like hour 8, and I was like, this guy's still going.
All my other international friends are DJs too. So
but good to have you, Dustin. Love it. I'm gonna move on over to AK. AK, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, man. I remember I tuned
Sure. It's AK. I come from a private equity background.
Good to have you, Dustin. Love it.
Part of a large group of companies. So we own a lot of crypto projects and a lot of real life projects. So just recently got on X and started to create some of my presence here. Do a lot of portfolio management for family office, both crypto and stocks. So always happy to talk, trading, technicals, fundamentals, growth of companies, futures, or if really anybody's looking to pitch, always happy to take a look. Again, we incubate and accelerate projects, and we've done some of the biggest in the industry here under our financial arm. So again, growing my presence on X and getting to know more individuals that are innovating in the space and finding all kinds of opportunities. I built throughout the bear and invested in companies throughout the bear market, but unfortunately I didn't build social media presence to get in deeper with certain communities, and that's kind of what I'm doing now. So happy to be here, happy to help answer questions or anything thrown at me, and participating, and of course with a great group of people.
That's awesome, and I saw you've got the show on the Twitter or on the X, and you're basically yes, I tuned in. So you have is that regular every week, or is it daily that you have that space? And I saw you've got
I just honestly jump on randomly. I get asked to be on certain shows a lot. Sometimes I'll show up on the like Mario and the Fall show. Sometimes I'll show up on the Mike show.
Daily that you have that space? No, but I thought you have that trading kind of, or no, that's
Friday. Yeah. I go on the electric vehicle show that actually asks me kind of technically look at where the electric vehicle is going, and since we started, we increased his viewer count like tenfold. We predicted the electric vehicle world to kind of technically look at where the electric banker calls on that show, and it's all free. All you got to do is tune in, see what our outlook looks like, and follow. Most recently, we just took advantage of a lot of these plays, and it's all live. You can tune in. So we're just happy to be around the community, man. Happy to share my knowledge.
That's great to have you here. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, AK. And I'm going to move it on over to Smart Layer. Smart Layer, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Matthew Sweezy. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer over at Smart Layer, and we're the token protocol turning tokens into modular dApps, and really excited to talk about what that means and how that affects real-world assets with everybody.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Super excited to have you here. And definitely want to get into what you guys got going on, something that's certainly innovative and awesome. So I'm going to move it on over to Over the Reality. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hey guys, really honored to be a part of this space. This is Carmen, or otherwise known as Digital Femme. I'm down here as a listener. I'm actually excited to represent Over here. So Over is a quick spatial web platform, and at its core, we really want to augment the world with geolocalized AR by merging the physical world with AR assets connected to specific locations. And I really can't wait to share how we do that with a visual positioning system. And think about creating digital twins everywhere. So yeah, happy to be here.
No, that's
Great.
wonderful.
Great having you. And then we had a nice intro conversation the other day, and yeah, it's an interesting project that's something also with this Wi-Fi maps. They were I spoke with them, but it's something that's very interesting, and we're glad for you to be here and share more details about it. That's awesome. Thanks.
It's an interesting
project that's something also with this Wi-Fi.
Wonderful. And I'm going to go ahead and move it on over to Bafar. Did I say that correctly? Or
share more details.
Yeah, that's great. So my name is Behfad.
You're welcome.
So that's no worries about it.
Wonderful. And I'm going to go ahead and
I'm founder and CEO of Chrono Games. We are a game studio based in Hamburg, Germany, and we are the team behind Forest Night. Forest Night is a turn-based strategy game for mobile. On Polygon, we have the strategy RPG elements to it with a economy meta game, which is powered by blockchain, basically. Thanks for having me here. Today with my personal account, because RWA is less relevant for Forest Night, but super interesting for Chrono Games ourselves, because for example, use case could be the physical representation of physical trading card games like Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh! On chain. So I'm super excited for this talk.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're definitely glad to have you on here. Super excited for what you guys got going on. And I know you guys had a conversation with Mark here, so super excited to see where it leads to. I'm going to go ahead and move it on over to Michael. Michael, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? Going on. And I know you guys had a conversation with Mark. I cannot hear you, Michael, if you are trying to see where it leads to. I'm going to go ahead and move it on over to Michael. Michael, do you still cannot hear? I don't know. Can anybody hear Michael or?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
No, he's a speaker though.
You are trying to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, I see him open the speakers, but nobody can hear him.
Still cannot hear. I don't know. Can anybody hear Michael?
This has actually been a big problem for many spaces in the recent weeks.
Yeah.
I've actually noticed. I don't know if you can hear me now.
The speakers.
Yeah, we can hear you perfectly now. That's awesome.
But I've actually had to switch it off my phone, because usually it works off the PC.
For many
And because I do most of my work on the PC, I'm one of these guys that
yeah, we can hear you perfectly now. That's
everyone
awesome.
else seems to do stuff on the phone. I prefer to sit down and do it on the bigger screen. So yeah, what you're experiencing here, what I experienced earlier, there's been many spaces recently that have been having this exact same problem. Audio cutting in and out, and I've noticed that if somebody kind of joins, unfortunately for me the other day, a guy was singing a song and it was really brilliant. And when I then joined, it cut him out in the middle of it. Yeah. So only for a second or two.
A guy was singing. Well, wonderful. It's good to have you, and look forward to hearing more from you. We'll go ahead, and I think Michael is trying to come back up here. Are you there with us, Michael? Well, wonderful. It's good to have you, and look forward to hearing more from you. Oh man! Go ahead, and I think Michael is trying to come back up here. Are you there with us, Michael? You might have to. Oh man!
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Dying.
That's fine. So through my headset, it doesn't work. I need to be on the loudspeaker. So that was the problem. Okay. Well, thanks for having me. I'm Michael Bacha. I'm the co-founder of 38DAO. And 38DAO is a liquidity platform built for tokenized real-world assets. So we provide liquidity for tokens that are whitelisted at zero recurring interest. And the first asset class, the tokenized real-world assets that we're supporting are fiat-backed stablecoin, no surprise. But we are working on exciting partnerships to actually include a lot more tokenized real-world assets to our platform.
Yeah, and EMG has been talking to you. I've been talking to, and we're excited to be having some partnerships and or having some possibility to integrate. So it's a great it's interesting what you guys are doing, and definitely a great project that you're leading. So we're excited to be expanding that partnership with you guys.
Possibility yeah, absolutely. We're looking forward to it, and now we're structuring our platform around specific actionable yield strategies for end users, and we would really like to integrate it into the super app. So very simple actions that allow people to generate sustainable yield using our platform.
That's awesome. Thanks, and looking forward to it. Thank you.
So, very simple actions.
Awesome. Well, I think we've got everybody introduced here. If I missed you, go ahead and let me know.
Awesome.
But yeah, so if you are a speaker, feel free to come on up and request the mic. What we'll do is we'll just kind of jump into the conversation here. And this is similar to the quick swap space, to where you don't necessarily have to raise your hand. And it's more of a free flow type of conversation. And go ahead, jump into the conversation here, and jump in where you can. The whole hand holding up thing kind of slows things down, and definitely don't want anybody to miss any kind of ideas or thoughts. So just feel free to jump in. And we'll just go ahead and get in it. So the conversation today is the impact of RWA tokens on Web3. And so, for example, something like EMG, we are a part of the telco MVNO provider, and we will be providing these services to, different countries and areas or regions. And this kind of goes along with our token as well with the EMG token in itself. So, I know there's quite a few different people in here, but what kind of impact do you guys think that this is going to have onto Web3 in itself? And I mean that by if you look at stocks right now and the money kind of involved into Web3 compared to something like stocks, are we going to see a bigger fluctuation? I mean, is this, are RWAs going to be the bridge between Web2 to Web3? And I mean that by mass adoption. I mean, is this,
I'm happy to jump in on the bridge. I mean, look, for me, there are a lot of different things that are taking place with the new technologies that have come along that we're all excited about. We're all expecting to see huge adoption from. And this is one of them. The first thing to understand is, what are real world assets? And these real world asset tokens, they represent, for me anyway, an exciting innovation in the world of blockchain and also DeFi, decentralized finance. And what these tokens are essentially digital representations of real world assets. So, it could be real estate, commodities, company equity, or it could be playing cards, like one of the guys said earlier, or it could be marbles, it could be footballs, it could be anything, but on the blockchain. And this integration of physical assets with blockchain technology has got several potential impacts from my side. And I've got a pretty long list, but I just think what we should do is try to go into each one and understand what people's perspectives are. So for me, I think the elephant in the room is increased liquidity. Tokenizing real world assets, those assets become more liquid, they're easier to buy, they're easier to sell, trade, even fractional ownership, which we've seen with NFTs, where massive NFTs like Bored Ape Yacht Club, they're not affordable to everyone, but people were able to group together to purchase a part of one, and technology was provided off the back of that. So, there's a lot of different areas here, but I just wanted to start it off like that.
They're not affordable to
That's good. I'll jump in there right away. So with the NFTs, the Bored Ape Yacht Club, they did awesome, right? But in the end, there was a lot of talk that some of these NFTs would get you some kind of if you go to events and stuff. I think they did something for their conference or something like that. But if you're like the whole using it for owning something physical or getting like a ticketing kind of thing, and or if you have that digital asset or the NFT or something, then it allows you to enter places and or maybe redeem something as a reward, something physical item that's linked to it. I could see all those use cases for it. I mean, I haven't seen too much progress in that. It's been sort of. Do you feel like that there is now? I do. To be honest, I do myself. That there is more adoption. There's a willingness to adopt, and there's a lot of these wonderful use cases for it. Do you feel that's kind of moved somewhere, or have we made some steps, inroads into that direction?
I want to add here that actually we sold the first digital NFT on Discovery Channel last year. We filmed it 2 years ago. We ended the episodes last year in December. But yeah, I feel like a lot of these use cases I've not seen. But we are piloting location-specific incentivization, which is basically like what you mentioned. If you say you go to like a gated access, event, you're wearing a T-shirt, you receive some type of allocation or airdrop, what we call redeemables or digital twin, and then you receive say a piece of music or whatever fungible tokens attached to an NFT digital twin, what we call. And then you'd be able to enjoy the physical clothing. We've done this with verifiable assets. So we have our T-shirts, NFTs are kind of in between because the technology can be triangulated. So we're kind of like more towards like verifiable assets with like QR codes because it's more scalable. NFTs 100%. That's I think very useful. Kind of a in between. So yeah, we've been talking to like there's a project called Nodal. They have more towards pretty big like mobile codes because it's more scalable. NFTs network or whatever. So basically, they're IoT. And then transition to DPIN. Just terminology really. We've been talking but we feel like the physical assets.
Which one are they? They're IoT, so Internet of Things, and what are they?
So basically, it's Nodal, NODL. So basically, they use triangulation with Bluetooth to verify devices and location and whatnot. It's a pretty good network. Say like XYO or like Zedima or whatever. They use like triangulation projects. Silencio used for sound, but for like real world assets and location and whatnot, that could be entangled with chips. But for me personally, the verifiable assets like triangulation product, or what's it called? Digital product passports. Is that where we're basically working towards like attestation for that could be green, like carbon footprint. But for me personally, the verifiable assets like
that's very interesting what you mentioned about those chips, because
product passports is that what we're basically
this is not related to 3A, but since you mentioned it, my wife is a painter. She's an abstract expressionist painter, and I talked her into creating a digital collection.
All right, so I guess the etiquette in this X space isn't really raising your hand to speak. I think it's just jumping in when you can.
And I talked her into creating that is embedded in the canvas, and then when you scan it with your phone, you're going to be taken to the NFT page, and this is for authenticity and for provenance, and also so you can enjoy this art in the digital form. And then when you scan it with
that's very interesting. That's because I'm also my mother. She had an art gallery in Toronto and in New York. So I grew up around art, and then the IT part was my father. So I chose the IT part, but I have that artistic. And there was 3 years ago, and there was a lot of making bringing the NFTs were very strong, and people, there was that movement to try to bring the contemporary artists, let's say, and making some digital art, so the NFTs. That hasn't been so prominent in essence, and matching that with the artwork, it's a great idea, and using the actually the chip or the NFC there, it makes more sense, and or adding another component to it, to integrating everything, or putting it together. It's actually a great idea. Yeah, it's good. So everybody go to the your website, or where is it? You can find your wife's art.
Well, you can just go on my Twitter profile, and the link is over there in my bio.
It's actually a great idea. Yeah, it's good. So,
well, okay.
Everybody go to your website, or where is it? You can find your wife's art. Will RWA kind of help increase that? I think one of the biggest things in mass adoption in the entirety of Web3 is user experience, and this has been a big thing for all aspects of Web3, whether it was NFTs or anything else. And if we're going to talk about RWA, yes, just by putting it on chain, let's just be honest, that's the easy part. We can put an asset on chain and now it's tradable. The hard parts are how is somebody going to engage with it? The more ERCs that we bring out, the more complexities we bring out, we're not solving for those complexities and unlocking those complexities for the end user. And so what we have to realize is if we do put something on chain, if we do, let's just take a basic example. Let's just take stock. We put stock on chain that's tokenized. Yeah, now you can trade it more people can access it, we've increased, but what we've not done is we've not added anything to it. And so we need to add to it is let's take all the things and let's make that new tokenized asset adapt in and of itself. Let's make sure that when you open that token in your wallet, you get the dividends directly to there. Let's make sure that if you have communication between that stock organization and the individual owner of that stock, that happens directly through the token. Let's put those functionalities, let's turn those tokens into dApps and increase the user experience. And if we can do that, we just have to realize the world has a primitive. They have digital primitives that they already use, and we're going to be judged by those primitives. Those primitives are websites and apps. If we don't make assets as easy to use as apps and websites, people simply won't use them, and we won't reach that mass adoption. And that's why we're super bullish on this concept of tokens as mini dApps. So let's just put a front end on a token, put some buttons on there, let it carry information. You solve the security issue. Now you can know who created it, and then you have all that advanced functionality. So I think if we're talking about mass adoption of RWA, we can't bypass the user experience conversation.
Okay, no, 100%. Hello, 100%, 100%. Sorry, I have to insert myself.
Get in.
I love the conversation. First of all, Mark, is it you that your mom has an art gallery in Toronto?
100%. Yeah.
Or somebody mentioned somebody having an art.
Yeah, that's me, Mark. And she had an art gallery in Toronto and on Queen Street, 69 Queen Street West. That was years ago, and then she's just now art collector, art dealer. She was retired, but she was promoting and supporting contemporary artists. Yeah,
I just wanted to comment on that because on Over the Reality through our app, anybody can create an art gallery. So you know how usually an artist you need to sign up, and depending on the actual art gallery itself, will you be able to display to have your work signed up? Whereas any artist can create an AR art gallery, and if you just download the Over app, people can experience it remotely in AR. But with that said, because the topic is the impact of RWA tokens on Web3, I've been through a lot of spaces, and everybody's saying that games like Web2 gaming, like gaming is going to be the portal for mass adoption into Web3. And I'm kind of thinking, this is my personal opinion, Digital Fam. I know I'm using the Over the Reality, but I'm thinking if when done right, just like what Smart Layer was saying, and Sharetopia, all those things need to happen, 100%. But I feel like because real world assets, the tokenization of these assets, what is it fundamentally? It's really taking rights and ownership of physical properties and putting it on the blockchain where it's transparent and all that stuff. So I feel like personally, if it's going to be, once this standardization of ownership and rights and this distribution of ownership and rights on certain blockchains will become standardized eventually, and will eventually become ubiquitous, because we'll end up using it anyway. Like, it's just going to happen. That'll impact Web3, because Web2 people will just end up using it. It'll just become a standard for governmental or however we're going to use it. Do you know what I mean? I love what everybody is saying, but it's going to be and eventually become a regulation. Like, I know we're not there yet, but I'm going to say that it's probably not going to be gamification or gaming that's going to be the doorway for Web2 adoption. It's going to be real world asset tokenization. We just have to like figure all the stuff out to make it happen.
But I'm going to say that it's
100%.
probably not going to be
Can I just
gamification
say
or
something
gaming that's going
that
to be
I've
the
been
doorway
chomping
for
at the
Web2
bit?
adoption.
Because
It's going
this
to
was a
be
space that
real-world
I
asset
really wanted to get
tokenization.
involved with.
We just have to like
Because of
figure all the
everything
stuff
that you've
out to
said
make it happen.
hits the nail on the head with me.
Already
Now,
love that.
on Sunday, I'm going to see
Can I just say
a friend of mine that
I've been
I only met
because this was a space
fairly
I really
recently
wanted to get involved with.
at you know, a big house
everything
music
that you've
do.
said
We know we've got a
hits the
few
nail on the head
musicians
with
here,
me.
like Hassie and
Now,
they're doing
on Sunday,
Manchester.
I'm going to see
And
a friend of
this
mine.
guy, I'm not going to
only
give
met
too much away, but he is
fairly
a
recently
massive,
you know, a big house
talented
music
artist. And when I say talented, I mean talented. And I had to talk him round to the,
this
you
guy,
know,
I'm not
thing
gonna
about,
give
you
too
know,
much away, but
NFTs,
he
cryptos,
is a
such like that.
massive,
And
talented
you know,
artist.
and really get into that. Now, this
And
is
when I say talented,
not so
I
much to
mean
do with
talented.
Mineable.
And
It's
I
to do
had
with
to talk
Maniac,
him round
which
to
owns
the,
Mineable.
you know,
Yeah.
thing about,
So
you know,
Maniac
NFTs and cryptos
is
and such like
essentially,
that. And
if you like, the parent,
you know, and
yeah,
really get into
of
that. Now, this is
a series of
not so
projects
much
that
to do
we're
with
working on.
Mineable. It's
So,
to do with Maniac, which
one thing
owns
that I wanted to
Mineable.
bring up here,
Yeah. So
and
Maniac,
you know,
is
you rightly said before about
if
how
you like,
do we manage
parent,
that? How do we
yeah,
go about
of
it?
a
And this
series
is
of
one question
projects
that
that
I'd
we're
like
working
to,
on.
you know,
So,
try
one
and
thing
bring
that I
up.
wanted to bring
So,
up here,
say, for instance, you're doing, you know,
you know,
screen print
you
or
rightly said
something like
before
that, or a
about
piece of
how do we
artwork,
manage that,
and
how do we go
you
about it.
do it in
And
Procreate
this is one question
or
that I'd
Adobe
like
Illustrator,
you know,
yeah,
try
then
and bring up.
print that
So,
to a canvas.
say
Okay.
for instance,
So
you're
then we
doing,
have one
you know, screen
canvas,
printing, something
yeah,
like that,
and one
or a piece of
unique,
artwork, and
you know,
you
an
do it in
NFT.
Procreate
Well,
or
when I
Adobe
looked into it
Illustrator,
before, it
yeah,
was kind of, you know, you
and
could
then
do some things. You
print
can
that to a
sell
canvas.
the actual
Okay.
canvas
So then
that
we
was
have
created
one canvas,
to the
yeah,
buyer,
and one
or
unique,
you can destroy it.
you know, an NFT.
Yeah. Now,
Well,
what
when I
kind of
looked into it before,
got in my
it was
mind is,
kind of, you know,
I
you
think
could
this
do
was brought
some
up
things.
earlier on,
Sell the actual canvas,
putting some
was
kind of
created
chip in it or
to
something
the
like
buyer,
that, as daft as
or
it sounds.
you can
Yeah, so
destroy it.
that digital
Yeah.
chip is something
Now,
that Michael
what
was
kind
talking
of
about. Yeah,
got in my mind is,
that's where I
I think
picked
this
up
was
on it.
brought up earlier
So
on.
I only had that. I didn't have that idea
Putting
until
some kind of
I came
chip in
onto
it or
this
something
space,
like that.
and
Daft
you
as
know,
it sounds.
and that's the value
So either
of you know people like us working in Symbian, and you know,
that's where
pulling these ideas together.
So I only
So
had that.
you know,
I
when
didn't
I
have
say
that
that this
idea
guy,
until I came onto this space.
he might even be
And,
listening at the
you know,
moment,
and that's
because I
the
did send
value
him the link.
of,
You know,
people
I'm not
like
going to
us
give too
working
much
in
away
Symbian.
about it, but
And, you know,
just let's say that he
pulling these
works for some
ideas
very
together.
big
So, you know,
people
when
in
I
the
say
music
that this
industry,
guy,
and very big. Yeah,
he might even
and
be
he's
listening
done
at the
a lot
moment.
of. I mean,
'Cause I
his
did
work
send him
is
the link.
absolutely second to
You know,
none.
I'm not going to give too much
Yeah,
away about it, but just
I wish I
let's
could
say
share
we
it
work
with
for
you,
some
but I
very
can't
big,
share it unless
people
I,
in the music industry.
you know,
And very
I'm
big.
sure you understand.
Yeah. And
You know, if it were
he's done
you
a lot of-
guys,
I mean,
I'm
his
not about to
work
tell
is
you who it is, what he
absolutely
does,
second to none.
give you a link to anything.
Yeah.
But just trust me, this
I wish
guy
I could
is
share it with
next
you,
level.
but I can't share it
So,
unless I.
the question is,
you know,
what would you
I'm sure you
guys think
understand,
would be,
you know, if it were you
the
guys,
best? So we
I'm not
have a
about to
piece
tell
of
you who
art,
it is, what he
yeah,
does, give you a link
and
to
we
anything.
have that
But
also in
just
the
trust me, this
digital
guy is
layered
next
capacity.
level.
Yeah.
So the question
So
is,
I'll shut up and listen to you guys.
Would be
what do you think?
So we have
if it's that, or even if it's a book, for instance, because I spoke to a publisher, and my daughter writes horror stories at 13. God damn, some of them scared the life out of me. But if you have a piece of work,
or even
if
it's a book
of any way,
because I spoke to a publisher,
how would you deal with that? Do we need to make it unique?
Are you asking about whether or not we put tips inside of books as far as like creating, like really cementing the physical from like the physical into the blockchain in itself? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, kind of as well, because if you actually sold a piece of artwork,
so I mean, this is something that like
kind of embedded into it.
This was something that we were kind of talking about with kind of Michael with the whole picture. I mean, it's just along the same premise, and I think that's kind of what Over the Reality was kind of talking about as well. Like where you're going to have to actually utilize a lot of your physical or your real world assets, and then put them onto the blockchain in order to have like authentication. And I mean, and this is where Over the Reality was just kind of aiming towards. It's more along the lines of like government regulation and more of like, hey, you have to do your taxes. It's like, hey, you have to verify your assets via blockchain technology in order to make sure that everything is authentic. And you're not like, I don't know, maybe having any kind of contraband in a sense. I mean, this is definitely a really deep rabbit hole that we can really get into when it comes down to like,
maybe. But just say, for instance,
I think we're kind of missing the conversation here as far as like the impact and stuff like that of the RWAs. But what we're gonna do is, I mean, can you finish what you're wanting to go ahead and say?
Just very quickly, and I'll shut up because I could talk with glass eyes.
What we're gonna do is,
I can tell.
Can you finish
essentially, so if you're an artist and then you create something, a piece of artwork on stage, Procreate or Illustrator, then you release a 100 prints that are a limited edition, but only one of those prints would have that chip in it, and whether it would work like somehow, I mean, could it be like a cold wallet type of thing or something like that, where there's a way to scan to see that that's the original? Because before, when I read about artwork, there was one of the things, and it made me think, God, I can't say this to artists. Well, you can create a piece of artwork, but you sell it as an NFT, then you have to destroy it.
So, I mean, does somebody want to go ahead and jump in and answer this?
Yeah, please, I'll silence myself. Sorry for chewing your ear off, guys.
No, go ahead, just
yeah, because we have so we're creating an application for this reason. So it's basically a scanning tool for, like, say, a QR. Not a regular QR. We use verifiable QR. It's very secure. Much different than the regular QR, but similar in the premise.
We have
you scan
so we're creating
particular QR. This is more scalable. If you're going to use like an NFC
tool for, like, say, a QR,
maybe like a one
QR, we use verifiable QR.
Yes, NFC, near field communication.
Kind of elaborate on that for me a little bit.
In the premise,
So
you scan
I understand
particular QR. This
yeah,
is
so I kind of alluded into this, and I didn't really go on to the impact RWAs on what we're doing,
maybe like
but
a
we'll just get to this part, and then we'll go somewhere else.
NFC.
But basically, a near field communication, everyone uses it for, say, tap to pay. If you had, a wallet, Apple Pay into your phone, you tap it on, just like that. So near field communication works with devices too. And like I was alluding to about the project called Nodal, basically triangulation of these, devices. So if there's an NFC implanted inside a physical object, a real world asset, essentially, that has attestation, then you don't necessarily even need to scan it. You just have your phone near it. And once you do, you tap the device, then it'll pull up that information. How that information is accessed, that's where the real world the impacts of these tokens are. We want to have a particular wallet or particular digital access to this particular digital collectible, if that's the case. And then just terminology needs to be deprecated in that sense. So
we want to have a particular wallet. or
you know, like
particular
you
digital
know,
access
somebody.
to this
I got a
particular
guy that
digital
does.
collectible, if that's the case.
He has a
And then
foundry in
just
Bradford,
terminology needs to
and
be,
he
deprecated in
makes
that sense. So,
non-ferrous
They could be the
castings.
same. It could be like
So
a
something
sculpture,
like that,
like
something
a,
that's kind of a one-off.
somebody.
I mean, you could even
I got
go
a
as
guy
far as
that
to invent clothing.
he has a
Yeah.
foundry in Bradford.
Yeah, I mean, this is like
the
90cc is like kind of pioneers.
that's actually kind of the next thing is that with textiles, and by 2030, digital product passwords or passports are going to be implemented. This is where clothing has, from the source to end of life. That's actually kind of the next thing. This is where that's going to go. It's mostly like scannable, not necessarily digital product passwords or passports are going to. But yeah, those are one to one. This is where clothing has, from source to end of life. But the NFTs require programming, and that's kind of where our cumbersome aspect is for scalability. Like you have to have someone that program the NFC. And maybe we're not always developers around these parts, but if we have something that's easily scannable, like say like a QR, that's kind of more tangible. Where our cumbersome aspect is for scalability. You have to have
I want to go ahead and kind of like revert back to kind of the topic here as far as the impact onto Web3.
But if we have something that's easily scannable,
one of the things that our RWAs are obviously going to
I definitely want to go ahead and
they're going to offer or transpire, bring about is more along the lines of
one of the things that
real world companies and institutions and stuff like that. Do we think that this is going to kind of take the focus away from a lot of like and I hate to say smaller projects or like NFTs maybe I'll just go ahead and go with like NFTs or like meme coins and stuff like that. I mean, do we think that this is going to kind of change the direction and kind of like change the focus and put it onto more of like the RWAs and like the bigger types of companies that are bringing it in? And like, is it going to kill off these other companies? I mean, or is it more along the lines of, is it going to like liven them up and bring about additional liquidity that will eventually kind of trickle into them? And that I'm just kind of curious of what you guys think about it. And I know over Digital Fam, I know you have your hand up. If you can jump in here, but I'll just go ahead and throw it on over to you.
Okay, sorry. No, like, yeah, because you know what? Oh shit! Excuse me. Sorry. Oops. I forgot my. I had a brain fart. What was I gonna say? Blah blah. You said, is it going to? Oh.
Okay,
sorry.
No, like, yeah.
Yes.
You know what? Right now, like the primary focus is a lot in like
NFTs
communities and like crypto because
okay, I got it. I got my thought. Okay, I got my thought. So absolutely, there's room for everybody. There's the Web3. There's room for everybody in Web3, and not only that, it's like it's a never ending. We get to create it. Like if you've been on Minecraft or any game that recreates the more your avatar moves on, it's going to be like that. Because you know what, Web2, when they hear about NFTs, they think, oh, the bored ape, those ugly apes or whatever, right? Or and so there's really not that seriousness. And then everybody, when you hear about NFTs in Web3, Web2 people in general, they think, oh, it's just a scam. What are these Web3 people talking about? These NFT people, meme coins, what is it? It's also scammy. But once they understand that you can take a real world asset, real estate, licensure, license, passports. You know what? Think about passports, the physical booklet passport. That passport can get replicated. Like people legit have fake IDs, right? They fake everything. You can fake anything with deep fake and all that stuff. But once people understand that you can take a real world asset and that there's a list of what exactly a real world asset is, and it's going to the security is phenomenal. So this whole real world asset and the tokenization of it, it's going to bring in a seriousness that Web3 isn't just about the scammers, the crypto coals, and these meme coins and these NFT collections. Not to put shade on any NFT collection or artist out there, absolutely not. But it's just like the real world. There's a space for everybody. But once real world assets and people understand that will become standardized, people, guys, it's just like if you recall when the internet became mainstream. I know I was in that conversation, and a lot of people did not want to go into the super information highway because they said, why would we want to join a place where there's pornography? Because honestly, back then in the beginning of there was the porn industry was everywhere on the super information highway internet. So if you think about the history of mass adoption, we are going to see that, like we're seeing that. So I love this conversation because the whole that's what makes RWA tokens so exciting, because finally that we're people that are serious in Web3.
Yeah, I'm gonna plus one to this. It's growing up. So, and the question is, are those other projects going to go away? No, those are new asset classes that people get to trade in. They're not going to go away. What's going to happen is when we do grow up, more money is going to come in and come on chain. That creates more liquidity for everyone. And when you have these assets, the name of the game is whoever gets the most press in Web3 is who's ever making the most money in Web3. So if we bring real estate on chain, that's going to be making a whole hell of a lot more money than meme coins. So it's probably going to get a lot more of the conversation. If we bring on stocks, it's going to bring a whole lot more money on chain than we have in NFTs. Right? Those are really small markets, and we're just like test cases of technology and just new asset classes for people to trade on. And those are really just trading games that people play with each other that trade. Meme coins have no underlying value. They're a trade. But when you bring on real world assets, it's going to, I totally agree. It's a growing up of the space, and it's going to unlock a whole lot more liquidity. And when those other things go away, no, they're still going to be there. Just the focus is going to be on whoever brings the most money to the table, and that's probably going to be RWA.
And I completely agree with you. Just was going to say, this has gone full circle back to, that was exactly the first thing I said about increased liquidity, tokenizing real world assets, making it more liquid. And what's going on, I completely agree with Smart Layer and also over the reality, because look, we are in a brand new space where this is a technological advancement, whether you're in gaming, whether you're in real estate, whether you're in smart contract development, that part of it doesn't matter. It's about where is this going? Where is the growth going to come from? How is it going to change? What's the next narrative? Look how many narratives there have been going backwards to what the narratives are. Like GameFi, massive narrative not long ago. AI, another major narrative. Now it's RWA. Deepin. And for me, what Smart Layer said is bang on the money. Like, none of this is going anywhere because it's supply and demand again. If there's a demand for these products and services, and there's someone on the other end, and all I can see is the space is going to continue to grow, evolve, thrive. I've been in this for over 7.5 years, and I have watched ecosystem after ecosystem and new products and new service after new service pop up and come along. And look at the space today. We've literally got millions of different cryptocurrency projects that are out there. It's exciting and it's unstoppable. Like, this is going to continue to grow and evolve. For me, as someone that's a founder and CEO of a gaming project, I'm all about providing a quality product and experience that is the most simplistic for them to interact with. And education is a major part of that. Understanding what you're delivering to your end user and making it the most simple interaction that you possibly can. And if people can do that across everything that they're working on, they're going to see a lot of success.
Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna jump in here. So yeah, thanks for that. I will I'll maybe water down a bit of the enthusiasm about everything that's been said here. Thank you for all the actually it's interesting to get that angle. From my side, I would look at it more maybe a little bit more of a pessimistic way, and I think that's sometimes good. Is that not everything is so rosy and everything is just so easy to
do. Like the idea of having real estate. So having your deed as there was talk about having it as an NFT, but it doesn't matter as in the blockchain, right? So it's very efficient. It can be verified easily and so on. In real life, it's a nightmare. You have to go to lawyers. You have to go to authenticate that if you own that property, and even if it's on a registry, they're not connected. But why has that not been adopted? Why has it makes sense? It makes so much beautiful, and there's several reasons. I'll look at all these scenarios. Another thing is deepen. You know, all these terminologies. I mean, we've had co-ops in telecoms. You know, the ISPs, internet service providers, they're owned by co-ops. So do they own the infrastructure? Yes. Do they? Is it shared? Yes. Is it something drastically, co-ops new? The concept? No. Is the technology in blockchain such that it's not available in they're so big that they can't, Web2, they can't come up with something that's, kind of have a database and kind of authenticate things. And are banks not able to send money in an instant? Of course they are, but they tend not to do it. And then my point being is that sometimes it's about, all the jobs, like I'm thinking about doing a one transaction of buying a property. You have to go to someplace, you have to go to a notary, you have to get that rubber stamp, you have to get the registration, you have to pay for downloading a registration, and all those jobs and those connections. It's a whole, it's an ecosystem there. And how easily will it be to get people just to jump in and say, all right, we can streamline this and do this. I think I'm looking always at the adoption part, and a few of the speakers earlier said getting something out there that can be used for right now by people, be it games and or be it something that's easier to use. People shouldn't even have to be aware that it's a blockchain or what kind of blockchain. They should just use the product or the application or the service and enjoy it. That goes with games. So maybe I'm going a little bit on the on a different angle here, but I think the best is if projects like I love how Sheertopia they're getting the gaming. I think the gaming needs to wake up and do games that are going to be fun and have some users that are not just for the benefit of earning money, right? Some people just want to enjoy a game. Some of these protocols and stuff are so extremely overcomplicated, and there's no way that they're going to be adopted by the average person that doesn't know the technology or isn't even into it. So my point being is how the RWA and this will be influence or be successful is if we try to make it simple and make it adoptable, and in that sense building stuff that people can use now and not overcomplicating and making it so in such that in 4 years it's going to be ready, your product, and then in technology it's a 4-year cycle. So it's who knows, will be maybe AI will discover a new blockchain kind of thing in 4 years, so you never know. So anyway, that's my angle, but I appreciate everybody's passion and the interesting conversation. I wanted to ask actually Darren from QuickSwap, like you've been in the space, you're very much into you've got the knowledge of vast knowledge and been around the block, as they say. Do you feel that there is more now that these adoption of these I guess their terminology, but also it'll be the RWA or it'll be DeepIn or it'll be some other DeFi or some other that will actually get most adoption?
I mean, the vast wealth of knowledge is definitely mentioned, but also it'll be the RWA or be a DeepIn or be I mean some other DeFi or some other that will actually get purely because that encompasses everything. There's so many things that you're talking about when you mention that from just the stuff you just spoke about. I mean, personally, I can see it coming through the degen things like meme coins, and then you're looking at even what Courtyard done with Pokemon cards. I managed to personally onboard at least I don't know, like 5-10 people, which isn't a lot, into Web3 via Pokemon cards.
cards because they had Pokemon cards. They traded them. They sort of that's $1 billion industry right there. And what they done was they had to sort of go and do meetups, and it's all sketchy as fuck. And then what Courtyard have done is basically they'll you can obviously get your card rated. They'll literally come pick it up from you in a Briggs van, like the proper vault van. Ship that off, put it into a Briggs vault, give you an NFT, and then you can go ahead and do what you want with that NFT. So they've sort of abstracted the card away. If you want it, you can claim it, and you have to burn the NFT. But then you've got that proof that you've got that Pokemon card. You can trade it, you can keep it, you can do whatever you want. It's nice and safe in a literal Briggs vault, and then. It's getting the people's feet wet. Like mass adoption isn't going to be through trying to convince that massive ecosystem of like solicitors and all that nonsense that you want to improve their service because they're going to tell you to ram it. So it's getting normal users through things that actually make sense. Things that are actually going to benefit their lives. If you can sit on your couch and trade Pokemon cards, you're going to do that instead of traveling 6 hours down the road to sell one card. So
100%. That's yeah. I love that they come with the van and they actually pick it up, and that just and the end user they don't care if they scan it and it's NFC or technology 100%. Or they get an NFT on their wallet, or they just get that pick it up and that piece that authenticates it, right? The end user they don't care if it's having that other aspect to it tied to it, having that or technology. Getting down and making it happen in essence. That's the idea. I think that's the key. But I wanted to just jump to it's AK, right? There's there's a possibility to tokenize and do all kinds of things, and I think you're in that sector where you can maybe talk about if there's some kind of inroads and how that could be tokenized. I was on a few I think it was Mario Fowler said there was a lot of discussion about how some of the security or some that you could actually trade it easier, or maybe you could jump in and say, I'm not expert in it, but how that could maybe impact with the RWA.
Sure. Well, I first looked at tokenization and the whole idea of RWA actually, I would say probably 3 or 4 years ago. So we're not new to this thing. It's just, unfortunately, some of the obstacles that we have found, coming from a traditional finance background and securitization and bonding and, working with real estate and stuff like that. We really tried to innovate to be able to create, secondary securities, much like that trade on other exempt markets in terms of tokens. This way, we figured we can increase liquidity. We figured that we'll able to allow smaller investors that usually subscribe to like GP LP models to be able to tap into their LP liquidity if they need to do so. These things were all, innovating in the sense of, okay, how are we going to increase liquidity in the industry, allow people to have secondary or third trades on assets that might not usually be movable very quickly. For example, real estate, where it will take quite some time for a GP to get rid of the whole thing. So we tried. We did a good job. We tokenized, a good amount of real estate, probably $100 million or so. And it just wasn't viable to continue expanding because the cost of maintaining the platforms as well as the cost of getting through the regulatory framework was too much for our particular firm that I was with. So they kind of continued on slowly maintaining that platform, but they could not scale it, especially with the bear market that came on, right? Because we had kind of created this prior to the bear market. Then in 2020, everything crashed before the Fed started printing money. So people kind of abandoned a lot of these projects. Funding stopped, and graphic the designers were not being paid anymore, developers were not being paid. So yeah, it's tough. Why? Because it's cyclical, in my opinion. Right? When the markets are doing good, everybody's trying to innovate and everybody's trying to create new products and tokenize and whatever. But at the end of the day, all that matters is liquidity. And is liquidity going to come there? And when liquidity does come there, what happens regulatory wise? Where are your customers? Who's actually holding these things? Because when you're thinking of an RWA, you're going to have to tie it to something physical in real life or some form of utility or service. So everything's going to have an owner, right? And then that creates the whole regulatory framework of, okay, what countries are allowed to own this thing and what countries are not allowed to own this thing. So it becomes a freaking mess, at the end of it, especially when you're dealing with a lot of money. Like, if you say, hey, I want to tokenize a piece of clothing and turn it into, like an NFT that can then be minted, that can then be manufactured into a real life product. Okay, sure, I'm doing something like that right now, personally. But if we're going to try to tokenize some things that are not meant to be tokenized, that cannot create liquidity, that don't find these secondary markets, then it's just people trying to innovate something that doesn't need to be innovated on, in my opinion, right? The market's already so big. So what am I after? And a lot of stuff that I look for is utility. RWA and the tokenization of assets is the future. I mean, if you guys listen to some of the World Economic Forum and some of the stuff that they put on, and when they show kind of what the future of the world holds, I heard this probably 10 years ago. They said, we're going to digitalize, I forgot the word for it, turn everything into technically kind of like digital, like your fridge will be able to interact with
Digital
you,
transformation, he's
will be
probably
able to
thinking.
interact with you, your TV will be able to
The IoT,
Or Internet of Things.
that was a huge with the telcos. They even went into the 5G would bring you like unlimited. You could just be driving your car and just be turning everything on and off and cooking your dinner and shit like that. But it never evolved.
Huge with the telcos. They even went into the 5G would bring you like unlimited. You could just be driving your car and just be turning everything on and off and cooking your dinner and shit like that.
Created some decentralized way or utility or protocol to be able to be much more efficient in this traditional market. But the traditional market that actually owns the market share and the players in that world are not going to allow you to take their people. They're not going to allow you to steal their customers or I'm sure you guys have this problem a lot with utilities, right? So
words of wisdom. It's lovely to hear. A telecom operator who's got millions and millions of subscribers, and they've got they're paranoid about their customer data. They wouldn't even put in the cloud for decades. It's just recently that they have to control, and then all the money making, the transactions, order processing. That's what our software actually enables. The customer facing channels. They're not just going to go into blockchain for just fun because it's something cool or it's the trend. They got to have a reason for it, right? There's got to be something that they're going to get back from it, and
they're not just going to go into blockchain.
Sorry to interrupt, but I love what you're saying because I've been trying to get this message across that maybe it's not just it's not so rosy. We need to do more work on the ground and get people to adopt it. From with our hands getting dirty and getting people in rather than just going to more complicated things that will never be adopted.
And get people to adopt it. From
technical terms
with our hands getting dirty and getting people in rather than
96% of the population of the world does not own crypto. So for them to be able to adopt crypto, and don't quote me for that number, by the way, but it's high up there. For people to have to adopt crypto in a lot of these other countries, it's just the framework is just nowhere near. I mean, it's not. So you have to start from the top-down approach, in my opinion, as I always like to do, and tackle the biggest problems that certain countries have. For example, I'll just give you an idea. So, I work with certain projects that are deploying into South America. Why into South America? Because it's becoming a crypto hub now because of all of the centralization and all the the problems that they're having with their democracies and everything like that. So more people have cell phones, in South America than they have bank accounts. More people have cell phones than they have a physical plastic card to pay with. Well, what does that
tell you? That tells you that very, very soon, more people are going to be willing to transact using their cell phones or smart devices as opposed to bank cards, which now just creates decentralization, which now creates applications for things like processing, merchant processing, faster payments of remittances from other countries that go into all these third world or second world, countries. So there's so many applications that you can develop in creating like merchant processing or being able to get money into somebody's hand in one of these countries. If you're trying to send it to them from another country that might be locally, that's something that we're innovating. That's like an RWA. It's democratizing remittances, right? Because instead of Western Union or instead of, for example, some of these monopolies that are charge you an arm and a leg to send money to your family across the world, well, we're going to create a way for you to be able to do it using blockchain at like a tenth of the cost. So things like this will always find traction because they're solving real world problems. But and not to knock anybody, but when I see like some really, really technical applications provided, like, oh, we're going to tokenize like this secondary real world asset that nobody even trades in the real world, but we're going to create a value for it and liquidity on the blockchain. It's like, why? Who's using this? Who's taking advantage of this? Very few people. So that's the only bone that I have to pick being a dinosaur for RWAs, is that I like to see the good fluid ideas. I don't like to just hear the word, oh, we're tokenizing anything. It's like, no, we can't tokenize anything. There's no market for it.
I'm so glad that you brought this up, AK, and kind of just something that I wanted to really like poke into or prong into more is like the centralization, decentralization. I mean, RWAs. I mean, what kind of impact are we going to see lean more to like a centralized side or a decentralized side? I mean, what like I heard you kind of talking a little bit about South America and like some of the corruption and stuff like that. I believe if I heard it properly, and then you said something about centralized or decentralized. I mean, do you think that it's going to lean one way more than the other, or is the RWA going to be more along the lines of a centralized, bringing about more of a centralized type of blockchain era? I don't think. I think it's going to be a good battle between centralized and decentralized in actually kind of bringing a lot of these assets to real life and giving them tokenized values. I think what has to happen is that the decentralized platforms need to create framework and regulatory systems that comply with each country that it might be deployed into, in terms of like taxation. As long as you pay, like as long as you, for example, in the United States, like I know there's some framework that might stop you from being able to trade certain things, deeming them securities or whatever. But if you pay taxes and you report everything and you're above the law, I mean, they're not going to stop you. You have a business and you have something that is using digital money to create some value, and you're reporting it and you're paying taxes on it. I don't think anybody's going to come down your neck and close you down. So you can remain decentralized, but you can have centralized applications in place to make sure that you comply with the law. Some of the biggest things that I had in terms of my early days of tokenizing real estate is the law, is the actual like transfer of ownership, because they come in and a lot of countries in this world that do have taxation will say, well, you're allowing somebody with a digital token or like Ethereum or Bitcoin or whatever it may be to turn that into physical property, and we don't know how much capital gains they made on that actual purchase or whatever they're using to turn into property. Therefore, there's no taxations involved here. How are we going to trickle millions and millions of dollars into real estate in a country that can be owned by criminals? We don't know who owns this Bitcoin. We don't know where it came from. And that was our biggest like problem. It's like we have to authenticate where the money came from, and half the users of crypto don't want to give out their name.
So is that in real estate though? But the days when people, I don't want to say from where, but let's say from Russia, they're coming to London, they're coming to all over place, literally with suitcases of cash, and I didn't see any of those real estate agents turn those down. Hey, we don't want to take your $5 million in cash for this.
They're coming to London, they're coming to all over place, literally
I'm from
with
Toronto, actually,
suitcases
from Toronto.
of cash, and
what happened over the
I
last
didn't
5,
see any
7
of those
years? I mean, our
real
housing
estate
market
agents
like
turn those
tripled
down.
because of the
We don't want
foreign
to take your
buyers,
$5
which is
million
so
in cash
unnatural, given that the local economy barely makes a living. Their minimum wage has barely increased by like 20% over the last 5 years, but everything increased by 300%. It's
because of the foreign buyers.
and that's the interference of foreign money. That's what happened, is that the Canadians didn't have enough to buy up their real estate. So what happened? China came in and bought up Canadian real estate. India came in and bought up Canadian real estate. I mean, a lot of these countries that have so much higher, population in terms of volume.
But you need that. But the point I think what was interesting said that they because it'd be crypto or some aspect of that, they wouldn't allow that. What's the difference if somebody comes with a suitcase full of cash and they even offer, if they were from China in Toronto, they offer
you know what? Money laundering. Money laundering. I'm
They
just
wouldn't
saying.
allow that.
Money laundering.
What's the difference if somebody comes with a suitcase full
there was at one
of
point
cash?
in Canada,
And
you
they
send your
even
money to your
offer,
lawyer,
if they were
and
from
you're
China,
not in Canada,
Toronto,
the
they
lawyer
offer
is allowed to
a
purchase
citizenship
property or
certificate.
asset on your behalf, even if you're not a Canadian citizen, have residency, or are in the country. So it was almost like there's delegates that can be put in place to purchase all this real estate. Now they have stopped that. There has been laws now that have actually completely banned foreign buying because of this, but it's gone too late. They bought up the housing market. Now, frankly, for some of us, we're real estate investors, so we took advantage of this. Hey, all of our prices went up double and triple. Great, I'm happy with the economy, but what happens to the smaller guys, and what happens to the people that are living on assistance or that are earning minimum wage? I mean, those people can't survive in Canada anymore. That's a kind of a pretty big topic right now. But not to get away from these things, is that, from my opinion, decentralized and centralized have to go together for us to be able to exist. If we try to run a decentralized system on a centralized country, you will just get shunned out. They will not allow you to be able to operate in that country. So then it becomes a struggle, a power struggle of the people versus the state. And I don't have an answer for that. I'm an observer, and wherever I see things that are going to assist and provide real utilities for people, I will invest in them. And if regulatory framework ends up being the reason they don't work, you know what? We just have to keep building. That's just how the nature of the world.
Now I'll just jump in there quick, Gerard, before the whole the Uber taxi, right, and the Airbnb. So it was just about that they came out with a new technology in essence, or it was something new, and there was no framework, there was no regulation for it. So is it a taxi or is it not? Do they need license for insurance? Is it a hotel that you're actually offering your room, or is it not? Or do you have to have that insurance? So but they grew because they had something that people could use, and it was a new technology, right, or a new, in essence, set up the model. Uber is about the technology, I think, and it's it should happen as well in the Web3 world, that having something that really would be adopted in that way is going to make that huge impact.
I'm just going to jump in and give you guys maybe a quick example of like an RWA that I'm working on.
Well
so one of our companies is a long-term fashion brand. It's been around for over 20 plus years, and they have a landmark. They're very known. They've been worn by all kinds of big celebrities, the A-listers, etc. Now, this company was undergoing